sometimes I think the most tedious part of embroidery is all the prep work that goes into it to make your life easier throughout the process. And this is just dependent on the size of your project. But for the size of Candy Corn Quilt Shop and how involved it is, I've taken the time to get my machine and my threads set up to be able to just grab and go as I need them. On the thread tree back here, this is a 10 spool thread tree, and I put the black on the machine itself because I'm going to use it all the time. A thread tree like this and another one like it can be found on my Amazon store. The link is in the description box below the video. And so these are all of the thread colors that are listed in the book that need to be used in this design. This is a spring. It calls a thread cutter. I actually just tuck the tails in there to keep everything nice and neat and up out of the way. But now I know all of my threads are handy that I need in order to do this entire project. This is the Brother Quattro Innovus 6000D. This is an older machine. I picked it up on a Craigslist find. This machine is probably, I don't know, 12, 15 years old, but it's still going strong. Just got it serviced and it's working great. Okay, I'm about to make the embroidery machine, and you want to make sure you have your instructions handy so you can follow along. This is on page 31 of the embroidery pattern book. And I have my fabric that's already been backed with the fusible woven interfacing. I have my piece of 7x9 batting. This is Hobbs 80/20 white. And I have my piece of black leather from the embellishment kit. Make sure you grab the leather and not the glitter vinyl. There's a difference. So check and make sure, because I grabbed the wrong one the first time. So on my embroidery machine, I'm going to touch embroidery, and I have it on my USB stick here on the side. This is a Power Tools with Thread USB. We have these available in our store site. I like to keep all my embroidery designs on these so I can keep them straight from other USB sticks around the house. I have a Organ 7511 embroidery needle in here and a 90 weight bobbin. I'm going to press the USB to get it, and it is right here. So touch that, and we are ready to go. I'm going to hit sewing, and the first thing it's going to do is my preview right here. This says it's going to take 17 minutes. It's going to stitch out the placement line for the batting, and that the batting and the background quilting are not included in the embroidery CD. So I'm doing mine because I purchased the background quilting designs, and we are ready to go. On this older machine, I have to put my foot down before the light turns green. I'm using my 9x14 hoop. If you're doing this without the background quilting, then your fabric and everything will hang over the side of the 5x7 hoop, but everything will fit. All right, I'm going to put my batting down now, and I'm just going to make sure by raising it up and make sure that I've got it about a ½ an inch on either side of the lines, and it is covering the top and bottom by about a ½ an inch. Just want to make sure it is completely covering the placement line. Okay, put my foot down and go. I cut my teeth on these older machines. My first machine was a Brother PE 770. That one didn't even trim the jump stitches. If you have a machine that does not trim the jump stitches, you need to trim them as soon as possible. going to go around twice. Now I need to remove the hoop and trim away the outside of the batting. You want to use a firm surface to trim on so that you don't pop your hoop out, and some embroidery scissors with a curved bottom. This is nice and curved. Don't go cheap. These are gingers. You'll buy a single pair and you'll use them for the life of your embroidery hobby. So the cheaper ones will hurt your fingers. And if you like to embroider like I do, you spend an awful lot of time doing this. Now it's going to do the placement line for the fabric. I am not changing my thread colors. I'm going all the way through the background quilting in white. Uh-oh. What was that? That didn't sound right. Let's see what we got. I'm going to do a thread cut. Whenever something happens that doesn't sound right, immediately stop the machine and investigate. I got a little bit of a knot happening here on the back. It doesn't look like it's any big deal. I'm going to trim it. I don't know why that happened. I'm going to just take my bobbin thread out and put it back in again. Everything looks okay in there. If you hear something like that that doesn't sound right, you always want to stop. I'm going to use my needle plus minus, and I'm going to back up 10 stitches and see if I can't move this arm a little bit. Nope. I'm on stitch, let's see, go plus 10. I'm on stitch 1063. I'm going to back up 100. There, that gets that out of the way. Okay. Now I'm going to jump forward 100. That puts it back where it needs to be. Whenever you're going to do something like that, or you need to, you always want to take a look. Let me show you. Right up here, you'll have some information. This tells me there's 11,675 stitches and I'm on stitch 1063. I'm 2 minutes into a 17-minute project and I'm on thread color change number 3. So if you ever have to stop and investigate or move things around to see what you're doing, look at this number right up here and that will tell you where you need to get back to after you've done whatever it is you need to do to take care of the situation. Okay. So I'm going to, I'm not going to back up any stitches right now because this is just a placement line and we're going to go. If I was doing a design stitch like a fill or something, I would certainly back up and do it again. Now like I showed in previous videos, have notched my fabric on side to side and top and bottom. So I'm going to lay it down in the hoop and match up those lines. I did not draw the lines on the stabilizer, which I recommend that you do, but you don't have to. And I'm just going to fold this right here and pull it down till I can see that this notch is right here, because it's even hanging over the sides on my hoop. And I want to make sure it's straight so my diagonal stripes are not crooked. Let me measure. So now we're going to do the tack down stitch for the fabric. Those of you that have watched me for a long time, this is the machine that I did the Trapunto table runner on. And if you subscribe to my blog and go to Trapunto table runner, do a search, all the instructions and links to the videos and the design files are free on my blog if you want to go take a look at that. Okay. All right. this is the background quilting. I'm not going to change my thread at all. Okay. So here in the preview, I can see we're about to do the background quilting, and I'm just going to put the foot down and go and let it do its thing. This is going to take 6 minutes. I'll see you guys back here in a little bit. All right, that finished. That turned out so cute. I love the little flowers with candy corn petals. That's just adorable. Okay, I need to do a thread color change to black. And I've got black all ready to go on top of my machine. So on the pattern, oh, here it is, number 1. So now we've gotten through the background quilting, which is not included in the pattern book. And then number 1 is stitch the knobs fill for the machine. So that's what we're going to do right now. Put the foot down and go. It says this will take 2 minutes. All right, next is the placement line for the leather for the machine. And we are on number 2 here in the book, and the square next to 2 is black, so that means we're just going to leave the black thread in. And then it says after it stitches the placement line to place the machine leather right side up. So now I'm going to place the leather right side up. There's kind of a fuzzy side. You want to put that side down. And then make sure that every bit of that placement line is 100% covered, because if you screw this up, you can't go back and fix it. If your bobbin thread pulls up, mine's coming up just a little bit. Let me get up close and show you. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see my bobbin thread coming up through the back. 2 ways to fix this. You can use a black bobbin, which I'm not going to do. I didn't do. And a Sharpie. Sharpies are an embroiderer's best friend. Okay, this is what's known as raw edge applique. And what that means is there's not going to be another satin stitch that goes back and forth over all of these stitches. So you want to take a Sharpie, like on mine, my bobbin thread came through. You want to take a Sharpie and color that in before you trim, and make sure it's all dry before you trim. If you trim and then use the Sharpie, you run the risk of getting Sharpie on your fabric, and you don't want that. There are no SVG files provided for this, and you really don't want that. So you want to get as close. Did that soak through? No. Yay. Freaking out for a second. I saw the black fuzzies from the back of the pleather. I'm glad they got the back of this in a black rather than, I remember the red truck on the Red, White, and Bloom had white on the back of it, and you ended up with a white kind of a fuzzy outline all the way around the truck. And I actually took a red Sharpie and went through and very carefully colored that in. So this has black on the back. You want to pull up and get as close as possible. Be very careful not to cut through your stitches or stab. You also want to make sure, if you do use the Sharpie, to just touch the threads, because it'll leave a little line. Alright, and it says change your thread color to green and stitch the thread detail. So we're going to do a color change. need a thread color change to white for the scroll detail. I don't know, I think purple would look good. I think I'm gonna do purple. It says white, but I'm gonna live on the edge, y'all. And now I need a thread change to white for the name of the machine. Oh, that turned out adorable. Alright, it says to trim the finished block to 8.5 by 6.5. So I'm going to look for my 8.5 by 6.5 inch rectangular orange pop ruler. I'll link to this below. It wants to trim to 6.5 by 8.5. So I am going to, this is my 6.5 by 8.5 inch orange pop ruler. I'm going to line up the little arrows that you can't really see. I showed them in another video, but I'm lining up the center of the arrows with the center of the V on my little notches where I folded exactly in half. And I'm doing that on all 4 sides so I know that it's straight. And I'm on a rotating mat. So I'm going to just start here. Trim, turn. These things are the easiest way to make sure that you're cutting straight and fussy cutting straight. There we go. Oh, that turned out just adorable. I need to go in and trim some of these jump stitches in here, but it's all finished. So now I am going to put this back into the sewing. I don't know if it'll fit in the sewing machine bag or not. It won't. The sewing machine is part of section 2, I believe. Let me see. Yes, on page 42 of the instruction book and the embroidery book, it shows that the sewing machine is part of section 2. So I'm going to grab my big Ziploc with all of my section 2 pieces in it, and I'm going to put my sewing machine in there. All done. There. This is how I keep my brain straight on this whole project, you guys. Everything stays put. As long as there's some blue up here from my smaller, or red from my smaller Ziplocs, I know I still have blocks to do in that section. All right, all done.